Me and Jay last year in Columbus, Ohio, and we did a little warm-up for Ronnie. Now, Ronnie's famous for a lot of things, 8 Olympia titles, squatting 800 solid ass pounds. But more than that, we know Ronnie, of course, from his sayings. So I did this in Columbus, and I got him good and warmed up, and I expect Birmingham to do a little bit better. So here's how we're gonna do this. Ronnie and Jay are right backstage, and I need you guys to go big. So, with your loudest voices, when I say, yeah, buddy, you say lightweight. But not just lightweight, I needed to do everybody to do it in your best Ronnie Coleman voice, and I know anybody out there has it. So you guys ready for this? All right, I'm gonna do this 3 times. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. One more time for the big man. Yeah, buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage 4-time Mr. Olympia, 3-time Arnold Classic champion Jay Cutler, and 8-time Mr. Olympia, the King Ronnie Coleman. Now, if I'm not mistaken, if you search the internet, I believe there's a picture of Jay going piggyback on Ronnie from a guest posing. And Ronnie, of course, 2001 Arnold Classic champion. Ronnie, these guys did pretty good, but I need one from the King. Ronnie, can we kick this seminar off with a yeah, buddy?
Yeah, buddy!
There it is. All right, Jay, you're not off the hook. You're not off the hook. So Ronnie gave him a yeah, buddy. I say we give Birmingham a quad stomp. How about it, guys? The most famous picture in bodybuilding, the Jay Cutler quad stomp. All right, Jay, 2 weeks ago rather, in Columbus, you were awarded with one of the most prestigious awards that a bodybuilder or anybody in fitness can get, the Arnold Classic Lifetime Achievement Award. Talk to us a little bit about what that moment meant to you.
Thank you guys for coming out. It's great to be back in the UK, and yeah, it was a great experience being able to receive that Lifetime Achievement Award with Ronnie winning it 2 years ago. It's quite a privilege. You never imagine you reach those levels. I mean, starting off as a kid, just hitting the gym to get, you know, a bigger bench and bigger biceps, it turned into an amazing thing being on stage, competing against, you know, Ronnie, who inspired me from the magazines, and, you know, now, of course, being able to sit here through all the social media channels, be able to travel the world, meet and greet with a lot of you fans out there, and be able to share our stories. It's an awesome experience, and I'm glad to be here.
Now, Ronnie, you got that award 2 years ago. In Jay's acceptance speech, he spoke very highly of you, and anybody that's talked to Jay about his relationship with you knows that he holds you in the highest regard. He spoke about you made him a better bodybuilder because he was always gunning for you. But on the flip side of that, it had to put some pressure on you because after that 2001 Olympia, the game changed a little bit. You knew you had a young up-and-comer chasing you for that title. Talk a little bit about how Jay, in turn, pushed you as well.
Well, as you saw in, what was it, 2003? Jay made me go out and go balls to the wall every single day. Every single day I was in the gym saying, oh, they want to go to war? Let me take them to war. And I was lifting as heavy as I possibly could. Most of the machines held about 250 pounds, so I would stack another 50 pounds on there just for Jay and all the other guys I was competing at. But I also want to thank all these wonderful people for coming out here because without y'all, we would not exist. And y'all are some of the best fans ever. So thank you guys very, 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 very much, and we do not take this for granted. We love y'all just as much as y'all love us. So once again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Jay thanks you, and like I said, we wouldn't be here if y'all wouldn't be here. So,
All right.
love you guys.
How about a show of hands? How many people in the audience today have been to a seminar before where they've had a chance to sit down and listen to Ronnie and Jay speak? Okay, so for a lot of you, this is the first time, so this is really exciting. And Ronnie, you've told this story before, but it's so much better hearing it in person. And for the fans out here, the majority of which have never seen you before, a lot of people in bodybuilding, when they're young, they see the magazines and they're like, I want to compete, I want to get on stage, and they set that goal for themselves. Your first time on stage didn't have anything to do with big dreams and stuff. It was a little bit different. Talk to us about how you got to entering your first bodybuilding competition.
Well, I had just got on with the police department. I had just finished the academy. I had just got released on my own, because once you finish the academy, you got to ride with somebody for about, 3 months? Well, when I was riding by myself, one of the guys saw me. He's like, what gym you train at? I train at the station. It's like, oh, dude, there's not enough weight for you to train at the station. And it wasn't. So he's like, why don't you come over here to Metroflex Gym? They got tons of weight over there. I'm like, cool. So I get to the gym, my first time ever there, and the owner, Brian Dobson, saw me. He's like, man, you pretty big guy. You compete? I'm like, nah, dude, I've never, ever competed. And now at this time, I was about 5'11", 220 pounds. I had 22-inch arms. And I know I had 22-inch arms because I had a bet with somebody when I was in college that I had 22-inch arms. And he was right, and I lost the bet. Well, Brian goes on to say, man, I think you could really win the world championships or the Mr. Olympia. And I'm like, what's Mr. Olympia? Because I didn't know anything about bodybuilding. Where I'm from, all we did was play football, basketball, and powerlifting. I did a lot of powerlifting shows, but never ever bodybuilding, because nobody did bodybuilding where I was from. I was like, nah, Brian, I don't want to do bodybuilding, because I heard those guys have to take drugs and have to diet. And I like eating pizza, hamburgers, all the good stuff. He was like, no, you wouldn't have to do all that, but you could die. I'm like, no thanks. Well, this goes on for about 3 days. So on the 4th day, Brian says, I give you a free membership to the gym if you compete in this show coming up in 3 months. He's like, I'll teach you how to diet, I'll teach you how to pose, I'll teach you how to train as a bodybuilder. I'm like, oh, dude, you should have led with that, something free. At the time, I was pretty poor, pretty desperate too. So Brian taught me how to diet. He taught me how to train as a bodybuilder, because like I said, I never did bodybuilding before. And he taught me how to pose. I went into my first show, won overall everything. And after the show was over with, Brian was like, see, I told you it's gonna be real easy. Well, I had another show, won first in overall, and that goes all the way to the Nationals. I got to the Nationals my first year, and I got 3rd place. So things went real good my first year in bodybuilding.
Now, Jay, ironically, we're here at the Arnold Classic, and you talked during your Lifetime Achievement Awards speech how a trip to the movie theater in 1991 is what really put you on the track to getting into the gym and working your way towards a bodybuilding goal. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so in high school, I was graduating, and Terminator 2 was launched in the movie theaters in July of 1991. And literally when I went in that theater and I saw Arnold in that film, just like a lot of us saw the Arnold movies, I was inspired by the physique. I said, you know what, I'm gonna make this commitment. I joined the gym a month later on my 18th birthday, and the rest is history. I started chasing my dream to be a bodybuilder, and started competing at teenage shows, became the best teenager in the country at 19, then chased my pro card at 23, won that, and then eventually started standing on stage with Ronnie Coleman. So it sounds easy, but it was a lot of steps to get there. But I always had a passion for it. Growing up, I admired Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and obviously Arnold gave us all an inspiration because he had taken it beyond bodybuilding stages into the films, and we saw that physique. And one thing I wish the physiques these days were similar to, like, we had a lot of people, action stars, that had great physiques, and I feel like we're kind of missing that a little bit.
Yeah. Now, Ronnie, you had a couple Olympias under your belts by the time Jay really started being a threat, but you yourself leapfrogged a handful of people from 97, of course, winning in 98. Yeah. But here you are at the 2001 Olympia. I'm guessing you thought it was going to be Kevin or Sean or Flex or one of those guys is going to be chasing you. You found yourself in the final call out of prejudging, standing next to Jay Cutler, who worked his way up from second to last to eighth, and now he's on your tail. That had to be a little bit of a surprise, given that there was some other, perennial favorites, and all of a sudden you got this young kid from Massachusetts chasing your title. Take us back to that prejudging a little bit. You had to be taken back a little bit that your top contender wasn't Flex or Kevin at that point.
Well, what some people don't know is that was a pretty rough show for me. What had actually happened is I did the Arnold Classic in March, and I've never, ever done two shows like that, like back to back at the same year, and I've never competed in the show before Mr. Olympia. Well, the morning of the show, I woke up and I was tired, exhausted, and I really couldn't get out of bed because I had did so much media stuff leading up to the Mr. Olympia, and the fact that I peaked at the Arnold Classic, well, I wasn't peaking at the Olympia. That's when I learned that the body only peaks one time a year. So I wake up the morning of the show and I can't get out of bed, and I'm like, something's wrong. Well, I've heard of people being exhausted and going to the hospital. So that's what I'm thinking. So I get on the phone, call my nutritionist and say, hey dude, I'm not feeling too good. I actually feel like I'm about to die. Forget this Olympia, I don't give a damn about this. I'm going to the hospital. And he was like, no, dude, don't do that. You done worked too hard to get this far. He's like, just grab some water and drink as much as you can. So I grabbed some water and I drank a whole gallon. And you know what water does to the body. It kind of washed me out, but not real bad, just bad enough for this guy sitting next to me to beat me in the morning show for the what we had 2 rounds or something like that. Well, immediately after I got off stage, I rushed to my room. My nutritionist gave me some kind of water pill, and I must have went to the bathroom for about 2 hours straight, non-stop, trying to get that gallon of water off me. Well, I did pretty good because I went back to the show and barely beat this guy. He'll tell you that, oh man, I beat you in that show. And I'll say that you beat me, but I got the sundial in my house on my mantle, so we'll just leave it like that.
Now, Jay, let's get your perspective, because, of course, your first Olympia, second to last. You talk about that a lot. You weren't somebody who, right out of the gates was a top contender. You come back in 2000, 8th place, so you cracked that top 10. 2001, I mean, you were having a run, so you knew you were good, but you had to be taken back a little bit, that final call out. Oh, shit, I'm standing here next to Ronnie Coleman. Take us through that for yourself.
Yeah. So, to go back, my first professional win in 2000, Ronnie Coleman actually called me after the prejudging before the show was over and said, congratulations. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you won. And I said, well, the show's not over yet. And Ronnie said, don't worry, you won. So he gave me the idea I was going to actually win that evening, which was great. He was very, you remember. So when I landed in 2001, and listen, I went in there with confidence, but to be able to stand next to Ronnie Coleman, I mean, he had been an idol of mine. I was just honored to be there, and that is the first time I actually realized, many people think that they can win the Mr. Olympia, but I really thought and realized at that point I could actually have a crack at winning the Mr. Olympia because I knew I was leading. I ended up losing to Ronnie only, and it was so close. But once again, I was it gave me more motivation to come back. And, I won Arnold Classics after that. And then, I was second to him 3 more times before I actually came about and won. But that confidence boost, you guys know when you go in the gym or when you get on a competition stage and you have success, it fuels you for more. Yep. And I think that's why I give so much credit to him, because he took it to such a high level that I kept being motivated to go in the gym every day, and I thought, Ronnie, when I watched him train, and I saw how he trained, and Ronnie trained harder than anyone. We traveled together, we ate together, so I was always in competition. But he did teach me that the dedication and that commitment, there was no one more dedicated than Ronnie. Yep. He loved being Mr. Olympia. He'll tell you. There's nothing more than he loved. I mean, you see all the cars he drives, it says Mr. O on the license plate. 8 times.
8 times.
He reminds everybody why he put his whole commitment of his life to winning Olympia, because that is like the ultimate, right? There's nothing bigger than that.
Nope.
And I'm just honored to be able to have those competition days, and now we can travel and we can, give inspiration to so many people and give that confidence. I think it's important today.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, Ronnie, Jay sat out 2002 the next year. Of course, he did the Arnold Classic, wins his first of 3. The only Arnold Classic champion to win back-to-back-to-back.
I wanted the Hummer trucks.
He won.
I won 3 Hummer trucks. Arnold, he only won 1. So I had 3.
I had the H1 though.
But Ronnie had the H1. But so Jay takes a year off from doing the Olympia, and you won in 02, but again, not your best.
No.
You came back in 03, and it was, I mean, if there was ever an oh shit moment in bodybuilding, you guys have both of them, 03 and 09, which we'll get to. But you came back in 2003 with something that had never seen before, haven't seen since, and a lot of people wonder if we'll ever see something like that again. Talk to us about that year in between 02 and 03, because the change between 01 and 02 and then 03, it was like we saw a different Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah. Well, in 02, because of 01, I was a little bloated, not in my best condition. Well, one of the judges came to me like, man, you got to tighten up a little bit for this 02 Mr. Olympia. We're going to dethrone you and get you out of there. He's like, even if you come in flat, he's like, just come in a little tighter than you did last year. So that's what I did. I came in a lot tighter and a little flat, and they wasn't really satisfied with that. So I'm thinking like, man, what I got to do to please these people? So I said to myself, you know what? I ain't gonna do what they are telling me to do, because whatever I do, it just ain't good enough for them. So I'm gonna do what I wanna do. So that's what I did. I went to the gym each and every single day with this attitude, with this hunger, with this desire that these guys really want to go to war with me, so I'm gonna take them to war. These guys are trying to beat me and take this Mr. Olympia title from me, so I gotta do something that's gonna shock everybody. So every day I went to the gym, I went with this attitude that I'm taking these guys to war and nobody is gonna beat me. Like I said earlier, if a machine held like 250 pounds on the stack, well, I put more weight on there. When I got ready to train and do squats or whatever, I mean, I put 800 pounds on the squat and did it for like 2 reps. And that's the biggest regret I have today. That I only got 2 reps with 800 pounds, because I know for a fact that I had at least 5 or 6 reps in me. So what I did was, I'm gonna make up for it on the next exercise. The next exercise that I went to was the leg press. And I had this leg press specially made for me so I could put as much weight as possible. So that's what I did. I put as much weight as possible on there, and they came to 2,300 pounds. We actually used the calculator to add it up. And I said, I want to do way more than 2 reps, and I did 9 reps with 2,300 pounds. That's all I did. But I wasn't satisfied, because I still regret not doing 6 reps with 800 pounds. Still regretting it to this day, but I ain't gonna try that again.
Now, Jay, the O2 Olympia, did you when you saw Ronnie was a little off, it was it was definitely a tighter race for the top spot. You had come off a big win, your first Arnold Classic. Watching the Mr. Olympia, was there a moment where you were like, oh man, this could have been my opportunity?
Yeah, you know what? I thought about it. I mean, I just moved to Las Vegas, so I was in the process of building a house, and I did see that Ronnie was a little downsized, but you know what? It's all circumstance. We show up at every show. You always hope for the best, and I think I don't want to look at any regrets as something that, I see my career. I mean, I had such a successful career, and I know a lot of us think that, we were so close on winning. He won 8. And I know some of the guys besides myself think that, hey, we could have had the chance to win that. There's a lot of uncrowned Mr. Olympias, but
yeah,
like Ronnie said, the Sandows all sit on his mantle. You go down in the history books, and, I think now it's looking at, you're still seeing that opportunity for a lot of guys. The Olympia's up for grabs, and,
Yeah.
For us, we were fortunate to be the top 2 guys for, a string almost 10 years.
Yep.
Now, you came back in 03, of course. Now you're coming off 2 Arnold Classic wins in a row. That puts you as a top contender for the Olympia. The backstage at the Mr. Olympia, backstage at the Arnold competition, it's an interesting scene. There's a couple guys chumming it up, not a lot of clothes, lots of Speedos and fake tan, but it can be an intimidating place. You saw Ronnie for the first time backstage in 03. What went through your head?
Yeah, Ronnie and I they tried to build us up in the magazines like we're enemies, right? But we traveled together, and we had a mutual respect. And, we laughed and we joked together. But when we got backstage at the Olympia, he was in his room and I was in mine. We didn't talk to each other. We did a lot of talking on the stage. What you guys don't realize is when we turn our backs and do our back poses, Ronnie would talk a lot of, all right, we're going to close the door now. And we would verbally speak to each other a lot because he was pretty confident he was going to beat us on the back poses, which he did. But we, when I saw Ronnie, I said, wow, he looks really good. But, I was still confident I could do some damage until I saw the videos. And I said, oh, shit, that's it. And he won his, I think that was, his fourth or something then.
Yeah.
Now, Jay, you talked in your acceptance speech about, to length, about you chasing Ronnie as being integral to your career because it always gave you the motivation to push harder and harder. Sometimes we talk about when you get to the top, you get complacent, but you had somebody to chase for years. Tell the fans a little bit about what, going after Ronnie meant for your progression.
I mean, we all need goals to shoot for. And you always need someone that's pushing you. So you're always going to look at who your competition is. And truthfully, I didn't really look as a lot of the other guys because I already had beat those guys. Not to say that they can't come up and end up beating you, but when someone's as talented as Ronnie and is gifted and, has that work ethic, and that's one thing I can tell you that bodybuilding, as you guys know, whether you're on stage competing or just pushing yourself, you have to have the consistent work ethic. You have to have the meals in place, the stress factors in your life. You need to have structure.
Yeah.
And we eat at the same time, we train at the same time, and we don't make excuses why we don't want to go. There's a lot of days I walked in the gym and honestly I didn't feel like pushing to extreme, but I always thought in the back of my head, I know Ronnie's working harder in Texas.
Yep.
He can probably tell you the same thing. I mean, there were days when the workouts weren't as good as the last, right?
Exactly. Yep.
When he squatted the 800, he says now he's disappointed he didn't get more than 2 reps, but he didn't go back the next year and attempt 4 more reps. It's like, you have a limit on what you, like a ceiling on everything that you can push yourself to. And we all have that, and we need that motivation. So someone like him, who I feel, in its opinion, is the greatest of all time. I mean, people may say it's Lee Haney. Some people say Arnold. We all look at our heroes differently.
Yep, exactly.
But since I was able to battle him, and to be honest, I beat him eventually, so I want to say he's the greatest bodybuilder of all time. Gives me more credibility.
Yeah, buddy.
And but we all need that motivation. There's always that someone around you that gives you that motivation, I feel like.
Now, Ronnie, anybody who's watched Pumping Iron, which I'm guessing a lot of you here have seen Pumping Iron, there's that the famous scene where they're all laying out, and the gentleman says the wolf climbing the hill is always hungrier than the wolf on top, and of course Arnold says, yeah, but when he's hungry, the food is there. You love being Mr. Olympia, as Jay said.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about the motivation to keep going after the title, because that's one thing we talk about is some people chase it for so long. When they get there, they lose that fire. But you won 8 of them. It never seemed like that really went away. Talk to us about the motivation from year to year after you've been at the top for as long as you were.
Well, I started working out when I was about 12 years old. And the reason why I started working out, because as a kid, everywhere I went, people always asked me, do you work out? Do you work out? And I'm like, nope, nope, nope. Well, as a 12-year-old kid, I started thinking to myself, all these people think I work out and I don't. What would I actually look like if I started working out? So I started working out at 12 years old and kind of fell in love with it, because the next year I joined the powerlifting team in high school, had the best time of my life going around competing against guys who also were in powerlifting, and I just developed what you call a passion for it. And somebody once told me, if you got passion for something, you never really work a day in your life. And people used to always ask me, how did you work full-time for the police department and do full-time bodybuilding. It was easy for me because I had a ton of passion for working out. And believe it or not, I had a ton of passion for working with the police department, because that gave me the opportunity to kick a little ass and not get in trouble for it. You know, when you're always used to being involved with some kind of physical confrontation, you kind of get used to it. And growing up playing football all those years, you know, I kind of missed the physical confrontation. So I started working for the police department and actually fell in love with it. I liked helping people out, and I loved the physical confrontations that I got involved with. But there's a lot of smart people out there, and nobody would ever challenge me. So what I did was, when somebody else needed help, I was always at least the first guy to show up on scene to help the other guys out. So that's what pretty much brings me back to all this passion I've had for bodybuilding and working for the police department. I just love doing what I was doing, and so I never worked a day in my life.
Did you ever have to go on a foot chase though? We know you were big,
Yes,
but
I did. I'll never forget it. I was interviewing this girl. She was about 5'2", maybe. She weighed about 110 pounds, maybe. And I'm standing there talking to her. Of course, I'm 5'11", 330, maybe 340, because I had on a vest, had on a gun belt with gun, flashlight, nightstick. And I said to myself, this girl is about to run on me, and I'm not going to chase her because I know I'm not going to catch her. So I just got on the radio. She ran from me. I just got on the radio and said, hey, she went that way. And one of the other guys, smaller guys, ran and caught her for me.
Now, Jay, I want to talk to you about this for a second. When Ronnie wins his first Olympia and his second, his third, of course, anybody who's seen the videos, he falls to his knees, hands in the air, takes him a moment. You'd gone for so long chasing him, and they announce and new Olympia, and your reaction is visibly a little bit different. There wasn't the fall to the floor, fist pump. It was just kind of a little bit different in the moment. Talk to us a little bit about that, because when people see the video, it's a little bit different than what we've seen when people win their first Olympias.
Well, Ronnie Coleman told me I won. Do you remember that, Ron?
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday.
So we're standing on stage, and you know they're starting to talk about first and second, whatever. They haven't given out the awards, but Ronnie, you can see him talking to me,
Yep.
and he says, "You won, you beat me." So I was like, "Oh shit, what am I gonna do?" You know, because he was going for record number 9, and I was gonna win my first. So at the moment, I was super excited because I was confident. I felt like I was gonna win, but to have him tell me, it was kind of like, I want to make sure I raise his hand more than enjoy my victory. And if you notice, when I win, Gustavo Bedell runs and jumps on me and hugs me, and then I raise Ronnie's hand. So, and my excitement was like more, hey, I finally won, but damn, it took a long time to get here. A lot of second places to him. So it was a lot of relief, excitement, and then respect to the guy that, pushed me to get to that level.
Now, Jay, you win your first in 06. 07, of course, as some of your close friends even will say, was questionable. You came home with the sand dog. You still had it on your shelf. 08, you lost to Dexter Jackson. In the history of the Mr. Olympia competition, nobody had lost and gone back and won the title back. We'd seen people like Arnold take a break, Franco Columbu taking breaks and coming back and winning again. Nobody had ever lost on stage and came back and won rather. Talk to us a little bit about that thought process between '08 and '09, because when Ronnie came back from '02 to '03, granted he had 2 close years, but he was still holding the title. You lost the title. '09, one of the greatest comebacks. I'll say the greatest comeback in bodybuilding. Period. Give us a little insight.
Yeah, so, I was devastated, of course. I won 2. I was a little confused because we were competing so big. I mean, when I won my first Olympia, I was 273, where Ronnie was, pushing 290s when he was, getting up there. So obviously we were bigger. Yep. So when Ronnie retired in 2007, I had these guys chasing me, the Phil Heaths and Dexter Jacksons, that were not as heavy. So I think it was just trying to figure out what my body needed to look like. And like Ronnie said earlier, the judges are on you about just better conditioning, don't be as big, but your advantages, and I always out-muscle people to win. That was my strong point. So I lost to Dexter. I was devastated. I wasn't sure if I was going to come back. I switched up coaches. I hired Hani Rambod to come on, who now, of course, has coached, Phil Heath to win 7, and Hadi Chupin, Derek Lunsford, all these guys. He was part of the Ronnie Coleman camp, actually, so he was close to Ronnie. Yeah. And, I brought him onto my side. We were able to come back, and as you guys know, I won that 2009 quad stomp year, dominated the competition, probably my most convincing victory of all time. And it's kind of in the history books. That's what really people know me more for now, was that 2009 comeback. That image is probably the most publicized image. But once again, it was continuing the career. I won another one after that, and then, I tore my bicep, lost to Phil Heath, and he ran for 7 after that, which, we've had a lot of great champions, but there's certain years that stick in your mind. And it's obviously gave a lot of people motivation, that I was able to continue to come back year after year after being denied, winning, becoming the champion, and then losing the title, and being the first guy in history, and still to this day, to lose a title and come back to win it. Right now we see, Hadi Chupin, who's lost the title, just won the Arnold Classic 2 weeks ago. Can he come back in October and win the title back from Derek Lunsford? That's what makes it exciting, right? I mean, people want to see challenges. Yep. And that's what was so nice about our reign is they built the show around Ronnie and myself, and we were the 2, most largest guys, but we had great showmanship where we respected each other. Yep. We didn't talk a lot of smack, even though, we did have our confident levels that he was going to win versus I was going to win. But it gave a lot of discussion, so I think it's exciting for bodybuilding what we have in 2024.
Now, Ronnie, when you saw Jay lose, of course, he was chasing you for a lot of years. He finally wins it. You got second. You came back. He beat you for a second time. When he lost the title to Dexter, and then you saw him come back and win, I mean, we all had, everybody watching the '09 Olympia, it's like my generation's moment as a bodybuilder. What were you doing when you watched Jay Cutler walk out of the '09 Olympia? I know exactly where I was, what I was doing, of course, watching it. But when you saw Jay walk out in '09, that had to be a cool feeling for you, knowing how long he chased you to see him back. Talk to us about, seeing Jay get back on top.
Well, be honest with you, I didn't really go to the show because I was kind of still a little bit depressed about not looking so good in 2007. But I know, how it feels to lose, but I don't have a clue what it feels to go back and redeem yourself. So I know Jay probably was on top of the world, and probably the greatest feeling of all, because like you said, nobody has ever done it but this guy right here. So it goes to show you how great of a bodybuilder he really and truly is.
Now, both of you guys, here we are. I mean, how many years after, 17 years after you retired, Jay, 11 years after you retired. You guys are still traveling all over the world. expos, events, guest appearances. Ronnie was actually in my home state of Wisconsin and the United States a couple of years in a row. What a treat for the fans in our small state. I'll start with you, Ronnie. Did you ever think when you retired that 17 years later you'd still be traveling the globe, still be meeting all your fans and hearing stories about how you inspired them?
No, I never thought that in a million years. And I think me and Jay were just talking about that just backstage. But when I was coming up, you know, we didn't have social media. And most of the guys, when they kind of retired, like Dorian, I remember that when he retired, you didn't hear about him, you didn't see him nowhere. It was like he was done. He was over and forgot about. But now we have social media, and with social media, you know, you're able to market yourself, put yourself out there, do all sorts of things like podcasts, make all kind of appearances all over the world. I have a documentary that's on Netflix. Well, it was on Netflix, but now it's on Amazon. It's just so many things that you can do with social media that keeps us very popular. So I'm very thankful, and I'm quite sure Jay is too. So I think that social media has done a lot for me and Jay, because like I said, you know, when we were competing, we just didn't have that.
Now, Jay, people that have followed you know that you were a little bit, you know, you kept to yourself a lot during your years of competing. You did the media stuff and the guest appearances, but aside from that, you kind of, you know, stayed out of the limelight, kept as quiet as you could. And here we are now, and you're as popular as anybody that's ever stepped on a bodybuilding stage, still traveling the world. But the big thing is you're connecting with younger audiences as well. I see people out in the audience that are 60. I see this guy up front, probably, you know, 14, 15 years old. And that's something, again, that social media has afforded these bodybuilders is, you know, not just, you know, being somebody that people your age or maybe a little younger look up to. You've been able to hit a whole new fan base because of social media. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so how many people actually, was anyone present for any of our competitions? Did anyone go to the Mr. Olympia contest or Arnold Classics? Very few, right? Of course you were. How many weren't born when we were competing? So many, right? Listen, social media, like, it's a common question we get. Do we like it? Do we hate it? It's a little difficult sometimes to let people inside your life, but way back when we did DVDs, okay? I know it's all streaming now, but that was our early social media where we showcased our eating, our training, our lifestyle, you know, what kind of cars we drove, and, you know, conversations with the fans at the expos, putting the effort forward, okay? And whether it's YouTube or Instagram, Snapchat, everything, like, you should see my daily circle of all the platforms I have to use. It's a complete pain to do that, but there's a lot of different personalities on those platforms, and I'm honored to be able to reach all age groups because, listen, at 18 I started training, but at 12 years old, like Ronnie, I started looking at physiques and I was like, wow, I'd like to look like this. I just didn't know how. The information today is so easy. You can just click on YouTube or click on instantly Instagram or, you know, all these different social media channels and learn and see these things and come to these expos, meet people like ourselves, take pictures, tag us. The communication, I can't tell you how many people became fans of mine, became my friends, and come to all the different events and we communicate. So getting out there, and I was an introvert, like you said, I didn't have a lot of verbal communication when I did the DVDs, but I had to learn to come out of that to showcase my talents and share those experiences because it's very relatable to a lot of us. Doesn't matter what the age, there's no limit. If you're 15, if you're 30, if you're 45, 65, you can start training at any time. And that's the most important thing is we all want to look after our health, and it builds your confidence. And if you have someone that can give you that pick-me-up and do that, that's all we want to do with our social media now is give people motivation, a comfortability of being in themselves, looking at the mirror, waking up every day. Are you happy with how you look? That's the most important thing. And I truly am, at my age and being retired and be able to focus more on this. We travel every single week. We were just talking about this could be my busiest travel year ever. And I think you're the same. So it's one after another. Next week I'm in Jersey. The week after, I'm in Vegas for an event. And then it's week after week. And we're blessed to be able to do that.
Now, Ronnie, you're all over the globe again, but I want to ask you about it because, Jay mentioned social media. I'm 44. I was in high school when Ronnie started winning Olympias and stuff, and now I go to the gym and I see the 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds, and if I'm being honest, some of them, they know the Chris Bumsteads and the Sam Suliks, and they might not know a lot of the bodybuilders, but every 14, 16, 12-year-old kid, my 3-year-old son knows how to say, yeah, buddy, in lightweight. That's got to be pretty cool for you coming to an expo and seeing, these kids that are 14, 16, just picking up their first weights, looking at somebody who's, been off the stage for that long. Is that pretty cool to see the younger generations come up and asking for pictures and stuff like that?
Oh, man, it's the best feeling in the world. Like I said, these fans that we have today are some of the best fans ever because without y'all, I said it earlier, I'm going to say it again, I'm going to keep saying it, we would not exist, and we do not take that for granted. And we appreciate you guys for everything you're doing. Like you said, I have these young kids, some of them 3 and 4 years old, saying, yeah, but they lightweight, and it still shocks me today that people are letting their kids, watch videos of me and me inspiring some of their kids. I get a lot of my inspiration from stuff like that. So as long as you guys are continue to inspire us, we're gonna go out there and try our best and our hardest to inspire you guys. Like I said, without you, there's no us. So once again, thank you guys very, 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 very much for your continued support.
Now, Jay, I'm gonna
yeah, buddy.
We got a little bit of time yet.
I was just going to tell Ronnie, give him a yeah, buddy, Ronnie.
We got a little bit of time yet, and you get asked a lot. I mean, you've been asked, the same question over and over by fans for a lot of years, but you are reaching younger audiences now, and a lot of people, wondering which direction they should go. And look, we could talk about advice for another 2-3 hours, 2 days. But just in real general, for the younger fans out there, the ones that raised their hands, they weren't born when you guys are competing, if you could give 1 or 2 pieces of advice for the younger guys out there, younger girls out there, training and just getting going with their, whether you want to call it a fitness journey or have bigger aspirations, what sort of advice would you pass along?
I think finding a workout routine that works, and it is no real, we train 5-6 days a week. Even today, I sometimes find myself in the gym 7 days a week doing something active, but time you spend in the gym, you could do 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour a day. There's no real limitations. It's just about getting there, doing something physical, obviously working.